Echoes of Ayodhya. Part 1. Twilight Return. The forest breathed softly, wrapped in velvet darkness, as if the trees themselves were asleep and dreaming ancient dreams. Under the pale crescent moon, a shadow moved slowly, quietly, along paths forgotten even by time. His steps were light, leaving no trace upon the mossy earth. Cloaked in the silvered mists of exile, Arunayana walked the road he thought he would never tread again. Many seasons had passed since he had last seen the high towers of Ayodhya, his once beloved home, now lost to memory and dust. He had wandered long, seeking silence in caves, seeking answers in emptiness, yet the voice within him remained restless. It whispered relentlessly, "Return, Arunayana. Your story is unfinished." Now, as he moved toward the ruins of his past, memories flowed gently through his thoughts, like petals on a slow-moving stream. Faces he once loved shimmered briefly, only to vanish again into the gentle darkness. Ghosts of a life that felt like another's. Arunayana paused, his amber eyes tracing the silhouette of the horizon. He breathed deeply, tasting the quiet air, fragrant with night-blooming jasmine and the melancholy sweetness of the forest. As he stood still, listening to the murmurs of leaves, Arunayana felt her presence before he saw her, a silent grace filling the air around him. Turning slowly, he beheld the faint outline of Dhaarini. Her form shimmered softly in the moonlight, her expression unreadable, eyes deep and calm as an endless ocean. "You came," Arunayana whispered softly, though he knew she would not speak in reply. The goddess, silent and serene, simply extended a delicate hand, motioning toward the hidden path ahead. She had guided him countless times through whispers of intuition, a silent song playing within his heart, clear and unmistakable. Arunayana nodded, bowing his head in gratitude, and began walking once more. Dhaarini faded gently into the shadows behind him, her quiet guidance ever present in the subtle sighing of the trees. Hours slipped by unnoticed, and soon the ancient walls of Ayodhya rose before him, broken yet magnificent beneath starlight. Arunayana stopped, heart caught in his throat as the weight of memory pressed upon him. Towers that once touched the heavens now lay crumbled, pillars fractured like forgotten dreams. Yet still, he felt the pulse of sacredness, a gentle echo that refused to die. He stepped forward, his feet passing through the old gateway, moss-covered and scarred by countless storms. The city lay hushed, wrapped in the soft cloak of night's embrace. Arunayana moved toward the great courtyard at its center, where a massive banyan tree stood untouched by decay, roots sprawling like veins of the earth itself. Beneath the tree sat a child, pale moonlight illuminating her face. Revia's eyes opened slowly, as if she had expected him for 1,000 lifetimes. "You have returned," the child oracle spoke softly, voice clear as crystal, yet barely louder than a whisper. Her gaze seemed to pierce into the deepest parts of Arunayana's soul. He knelt before her, weary but gentle. "I seek only truth, little one." Revia smiled softly, a gesture filled with sorrow beyond her years. "Truth has changed, Arunayana. Dharma has grown uncertain. Ayodhya's heartbeat has slowed, and the stars dimmed in sorrow." "What must I do?" Arunayana asked, his voice barely disturbing the stillness around them. Revia closed her eyes, visions flickering behind her eyelids, ancient yet timeless. "Seek the forests of Vanantya, where forgotten whispers dwell. Seek the fallen one, Markasura, who holds the echoes of cosmic justice. And seek the dreams woven by Alara. Only then will the truth rise again." The child's words faded into silence, leaving Arunayana alone with the soft murmurs of the night. He rose slowly, reverently, understanding his journey had only just begun. Behind him, Ayodhya lay quiet beneath the stars, dreaming of a redemption that might never come, yet still whispered softly, patiently, in the gentle echoes of night. Part 2. whispers of the forgotten forest. With Revya's gentle voice still resonating softly in his heart, Arunayana moved toward the ancient forests, guided only by instinct and memory. The pathways ahead were veiled in mist, touched by shadows and woven by time itself. Each step was hushed, carrying him deeper into the embrace of trees older than the sky. Here, beneath the branches intertwined like fingers clasped in prayer, the world seemed suspended in a state of perpetual twilight. Moonlight filtered softly through leaves, dancing quietly upon moss-covered earth. Sounds were muffled, the air thickened by silence that had grown sacred over countless ages. Soon, the forest opened gently, revealing a hidden glade bathed in silver luminescence. At its heart stood a crystal pool, still as sleep, reflecting starlight with perfect clarity. Beside it waited Vanantya, the wind-born spirit whose form shimmered like mist kissed by dawn. She floated gently, her presence serene yet elusive, ever shifting like the breeze. Her eyes, deep and reflective, watched Arunayana approach. "Long have you wandered," she spoke softly, voice a sigh carried gently on the wind. "But do you remember who you are?" Arunayana paused, his eyes drawn downward toward his reflection mirrored in the quiet pool. He saw himself clearly, lines etched gently by the weight of time, his eyes deeper, wiser, and quieter than before. "I remember only echoes," he admitted softly. "Yet I seek something deeper than memory." Vanantya smiled, a tender gesture tinged with sorrow, her form shimmering delicately. "Memory is but a thread in the tapestry of truth. To find the echoes you seek, you must first lose yourself completely." He closed his eyes briefly, the wisdom of her words washing over him. How does one lose oneself without becoming lost forever? Her laughter was gentle, like leaves rustling softly in the evening breeze. One becomes lost only by clinging too tightly to what was. Let the currents of fate carry you, warrior sage, and trust that the path will reveal itself. Arunayana nodded slowly, absorbing the serenity of her presence. Revya spoke of Markasura, the fallen one. "Can you guide me?" Vanantya's expression grew solemn, her essence momentarily still. Markasura resides in the ruins beyond memory, a realm touched by sorrow and silence. He has forgotten his dharma, yet his heart aches for redemption he cannot reach. Arunayana gazed toward the distant shadows, feeling the weight of Vanantya's words. Why has the path become so unclear, the stars so dim? Vanantya drifted closer, her ethereal form brushing lightly against his own, imparting a whisper of ancient warmth. The world forgets when the heart forgets. Dharma weakens when it is not lived. You, Arunayana, are part of this forgetting and part of its healing. He felt her words settle quietly into his soul, stirring gently like ripples on the tranquil pool. Vanantya stepped back, her form fading softly into the night. "Go," her voice whispered, growing distant yet lingering like an echo. "Find the fallen one, listen to his sorrow, and through it, discover your own forgotten truth." Arunayana breathed deeply, absorbing the quiet power of the forest around him. The glade once again fell silent, a gentle stillness that wrapped him in peace. He turned toward the deeper woods, knowing his journey stretched onward, through shadows, whispers, and forgotten truths. The forest grew denser, the trees standing like sentinels guarding secrets of ages past. Sounds faded completely, leaving only silence deep enough to hear the gentle rhythm of his own heart. Each footfall, though soft, reverberated subtly, as if the earth itself acknowledged his passing. After hours beneath the watchful gaze of ancient trees, the path narrowed, winding gently upward toward ruins perched on the edge of dreams. Arunayana stopped, breath quiet, eyes focused softly ahead. Before him stretched a labyrinth of crumbled pillars, structures half buried beneath vines and moss, bathed in starlight dimmed by sorrow. He felt the sorrow's weight as though the stones themselves wept silently, mourning a glory long forgotten. Moving gently forward, Arunayana's gaze settled on a lone figure, seated amid the ruins' heart, Markasura. His form was slouched, wearied by an unseen burden, eyes fixed upon the stars as if searching for answers he feared would never come. Arunayana stepped forward quietly, his presence barely disturbing the air. Yet Markasura spoke without turning, voice resonating softly, filled with gentle pain. "So, you two have come seeking echoes of forgotten justice. Tell me, Arunayana, do you believe redemption is possible even when Dharma itself has forsaken you?" The question hung gently in the air, carried softly upon the night's stillness. Arunayana took a slow breath, heart open, ready to listen to the fallen one's silent cry for understanding. Part 3. The Fallen One's Sorrow. Arunayana approached slowly, each step careful and tender, mindful of the quiet sorrow emanating from Markasura. The Fallen One remained seated upon the fractured stone steps, eyes still raised toward heavens that offered no solace. Around them, the ruins whispered in faint echoes, memories trapped within walls scarred by ages of silence. Arunayana stopped beside him, quietly settling upon the stone. For a long moment, neither spoke, each content to share the stillness that stretched between them, gentle and unbroken, like the surface of an undisturbed lake. Finally, Arunayana's soft voice breached the quiet. "Why do you linger here, Markasura, beneath stars that seem blind to your sorrow?" Markasura sighed deeply, his voice weary but gentle, layered with echoes of ancient grief. "Because these stars once knew me when I still held Dharma in my grasp. They shine dimmer now, mourning my fall." Arunayana gazed up, allowing himself to feel the ache of the celestial sadness. Perhaps their sorrow is a reflection, not judgment. Perhaps they wait patiently for you to remember your way. Markasura turned slowly, eyes dark and reflective, searching Arunayana's face with quiet intensity. "You speak kindly, sage, but redemption is a word easier whispered than lived. How does one reclaim a path buried beneath the weight of past mistakes?" Arunayana met his gaze with compassion, voice soft yet clear. "One step at a time, by listening first to the truth within your own silence." Markasura lowered his eyes, expression softening into vulnerability rarely seen. "And what truths do you carry, Arunayana, you who walk gently upon the edges of memory?" Arunayana breathed slowly, letting silence hold him a moment before responding. "I carry echoes of exile, of choices made and unmade, of Dharma that seemed clear until it faded like mist at dawn. Perhaps we are more alike than you realize." A faint smile tugged at Markasura's lips, tinged with sorrow but softened by kinship. Perhaps all beings, even those fallen far from grace, carry within them the same yearning to find home again. Arunayana nodded gently, eyes warm and patient. "Tell me your story, Markasura. Let your words fill the silence around us, and perhaps, within them, we will find our shared redemption." Markasura hesitated briefly, eyes distant, voice low as if pulling gently from depths he had long ignored. "I was born of both celestial light and mortal darkness, woven from the threads of cosmic justice itself. Once, I upheld the balance, guardian of truths sacred and eternal. Yet, even the strongest weave can unravel." He paused, eyes shadowed by memories. "A single choice, guided not by wisdom, but by desire, fractured my path. In seeking to bend Dharma to my will, I shattered the very balance I had vowed to protect." Arunayana listened closely, heart quiet and open. "And you withdrew here, to these ruins, believing your error irreversible." Markasura nodded, gaze gentle yet filled with quiet anguish. "Here I stayed, waiting for a sign, for redemption whispered by stars that remained silent. Perhaps," Arunayana spoke softly, "redemption begins not in waiting, but in moving forward again. Dharma is not static. It breathes, shifts, lives within every choice we make. Markasura lifted his eyes, expression softening, hope flickering faintly within them. Do you truly believe the balance can be restored, even after such profound loss? Arunayana placed a gentle hand upon Markasura's shoulder, voice tender yet unwavering. As long as hearts beat and stars shine, even dimly, restoration is always possible. They sat quietly together, wrapped in the gentle stillness of shared understanding, as the stars above began to brighten subtly, their sorrow touched by new possibility. Finally, Markasura stood, posture straightening gently, burden slightly lighter. If redemption lies ahead, then perhaps it is time I journey again, toward Alara, the weaver of dreams, who holds echoes of truth. Arunayana rose beside him, warmth spreading softly within his heart. Together, then, let us seek her guidance. As they moved forward, the ruins behind them whispered gently, bearing witness as two souls began their quiet journey toward hope. The path led through ancient archways, gently illuminated by starlight that had begun to regain its lost brilliance. In the shadows, unseen yet felt, the silent goddess Dhaarini watched softly, her serene eyes filled with quiet approval. Her presence, gentle and unobtrusive, continued guiding their steps subtly, through darkness, silence, and toward dreams yet unspoken. Part 4. Alara's Loom of Dreams. Arunayana and Markasura walked softly beneath skies gently painted by dawn's first blush, stepping through curtains of mist that rose like spirits awakened from slumber. The path before them wound gracefully toward distant mountains, their peaks veiled in soft clouds, tinged with delicate shades of rose and gold. The silence between them was comfortable now, shared understanding weaving gently through the space they occupied. Each step taken felt lighter than the last, as though the weight of past burdens gradually dissolved into the mist around them. Eventually, the mountains gave way to lush hillsides adorned by wildflowers, their petals whispering gently in the morning breeze. Atop the highest hill stood Alara's dwelling, a place where dreams and truths intertwined gracefully. The house was humble, woven from vines and moonlit silk, its very essence shimmering softly in the early sunlight. As they approached, Alara stepped gracefully from the doorway, her movements fluid and calm. She wore robes woven with threads of starlight, her hair cascading like twilight across slender shoulders. Her eyes, deep and reflective, held the quiet wisdom of countless dreams shared softly through time. "You've journeyed far, seekers of echoes," she greeted gently, her voice soft as wind chimes stirred by a delicate breeze. "Come, rest, and speak your truths." She led them inside, where sunlight filtered gently through translucent walls. The air within her dwelling was scented with jasmine and the faint sweetness of dreams drifting slowly toward awakening. At its heart stood a loom, ethereal and delicate, threads of light shimmering faintly in intricate patterns. Arunayana gazed at the loom, sensing deep significance woven carefully into each strand. "What is it you weave, Alara?" She smiled softly, her fingers gently touching threads as delicate as whispers. Dreams, memories, truths, the echoes of lives both lived and yet to come. Markasura stepped closer, voice quiet and thoughtful. "Can dreams guide us back to Dharma?" Her eyes met his with gentle compassion. Dreams are the threads of truth beneath waking thoughts. In them lie paths toward redemption, toward remembrance. Arunayana's gaze settled thoughtfully upon her work. "Then perhaps within your dreams lies the answer we seek." Alara nodded gently, gesturing to cushions laid upon the floor. "Sit and close your eyes. Let your breath quiet, and I will guide you gently toward dreams you have forgotten." Together, they sat quietly, breathing slowly, letting their awareness drift like leaves upon a calm stream. Alara's voice flowed softly around them, each word a gentle caress upon their hearts. "Within you," she whispered, reside dreams untouched by regret, echoes pure and quiet. Let these visions guide you softly toward truth. Arunayana felt his consciousness float gently, entering a dreamscape luminous and serene. He saw himself younger, standing tall within Ayodhya's shining halls, radiant with hope. Faces of those he loved appeared gently before him, smiling warmly. Yet beneath this tranquility lingered a subtle shadow, a quiet whisper he had long ignored. The truth of his exile, of dharma misunderstood. Nearby, Markasura journeyed into a dream of cosmic light, where stars shone brightly, singing softly of balance restored. Yet within this brilliance dwelled sorrowful echoes of choices made hastily, desires that bent dharma until it broke. As both men journeyed quietly through their visions, Alara's presence gently guided them, weaving their dreams together, threads intertwining gracefully, forming a tapestry of shared truths. Slowly, clarity emerged, paths toward forgiveness, toward healing, toward peace. When they awoke, the rune glowed gently with the golden warmth of afternoon sunlight, their hearts filled with quiet wisdom newly revealed. Arunayana met Alara's gaze, voice softened by gratitude. You've shown us echoes of truths hidden deeply within. She smiled tenderly. The dreams were yours already. I merely guided you toward remembering. Markasura rose quietly, eyes thoughtful but lighter. These memories, these dreams, remind me that the path back to Dharma is not beyond reach. Alara nodded, eyes bright with gentle encouragement. Your journey has begun anew, yet one task remains. Arunayana stood gently, sensing her meaning. Bargain, the blind king who remembers too much. We must seek his counsel. She inclined her head softly. Within his memories lies the final truth that binds your paths together. They thanked Alara quietly, stepping once more onto paths leading gently toward destiny. Behind them, Alara stood softly illuminated by fading sunlight, her loom continuing to weave quietly. Threads of dreams, of truths, of echoes waiting patiently to awaken. Part 5. The King Who Remembers. Under twilight, skies softly painted in shades of violet and silver, Arunayana and Markasura journeyed onward. The path led them gently through landscapes of quiet beauty. Meadows brushed with moonlight, streams murmuring softly in secret languages, and forests standing watchfully beneath the starlit heavens. At length, the serene landscape gave way to a secluded valley, nestled deep within protective mountains. At its center stood a modest palace, its walls crafted from pale stone, worn gently by centuries. Here lived Bargain, the blind king whose memory was said to be as boundless as the cosmos itself. As they entered the palace courtyard, soft footsteps echoed gently upon polished marble. At its heart, beneath blossoming trees bathed in moonlight, sat Bargain, his expression peaceful yet bearing the gentle weight of endless recollection. The king raised his head slowly, sensing their presence long before their quiet approach. His eyes, though sightless, seemed to see deeper truths beyond ordinary vision. You come seeking echoes, he spoke softly, his voice calm and resonant, as timeless as the earth itself. Come closer, let me sense your presence. They knelt gently before him, reverent and still. Bargain reached out, fingertips brushing softly upon their brows, reading memories and truths etched within. Arunayana, he murmured quietly, Exile has been your teacher, silence your guide. Yet your heart seeks truths deeper still. Then, touching Markasura's brow, he spoke softly again. Markasura, guardian fallen from Dharma, your heart carries sorrow as vast as the skies. Yet beneath sorrow lies the seed of redemption. Both men felt his words settle gently into their souls, stirring softly, awakening truths long slumbering. What memories must we reclaim? Arunayana asked quietly, his voice barely disturbing the sacred silence around them. Bargain smiled gently, his blind gaze turned toward the stars. Long ago, before Ayodhya fell silent, balance reigned beneath heavens bright and clear. Dharma was lived, not merely spoken. Yet even then, a shadow stirred quietly within our hearts. The belief that truth was absolute, fixed, and unchanging. The king paused, voice becoming a soft whisper, heavy with wisdom. We forgot that Dharma breathes, that balance shifts, that truth evolves gently with every choice we make. Markasura spoke softly, humbled by revelation. So, my fall was rooted not in desire alone, but in my refusal to see Dharma as living. Bargain nodded slowly. Yes, and you, Arunayana, chose exile because your heart clung to the rigidity of past truths. To heal the world, you must release that hold. Arunayana lowered his eyes gently, feeling the quiet power of the king's words. How do we heal something so deeply forgotten? Bargain placed his palms gently together, his expression tranquil and serene. By becoming the echoes you seek, voices quiet yet clear, guiding others softly toward remembrance. Dharma restored is not achieved through force, but through patient, gentle awakening. They sat quietly beneath moonlight, letting Bargain's wisdom flow gently around them, embracing them softly with profound truth. Finally, Arunayana stood, his heart steady yet peaceful. Then we returned to Ayodhya, to help it awaken from forgetfulness. Bargain inclined his head gently. Yes, but know this. The city will awaken only when your own hearts awaken fully. The world mirrors the truths we carry within. Markasura rose quietly, his burden lifted gently, his path clearer than ever before. Then let our return be gentle yet resolute, our voices calm yet unwavering. Bargain smiled tenderly, his form bathed softly in moonlit serenity. Go now, with peace in your hearts. Become the echoes of truth and remembrance. Become the gentle voices of Dharma reborn. With deep gratitude, they left the palace, stepping quietly into the soft embrace of night. Behind them, Bargain sat peacefully beneath blossoming trees, his heart filled with gentle hope, knowing their quiet voices would soon rise, softly echoing truths the world had long forgotten. Part 6, The Quiet Return. The journey back to Ayodhya unfolded like a prayer. The sky above shimmered in tones of soft indigo, where stars blinked like the last remnants of a forgotten lullaby. Arunayana and Markasura walked in stillness, not because there was nothing left to say, but because silence had become their companion, sacred, full, and understood. The air shifted as they neared the outskirts of the once glorious city. The scent of ancient stone and withering blooms mingled with the quiet wind, as though even the air itself remembered them. Ayodhya stood as it had before, still, broken, and beautiful in its slumber. But now it was different, for within Arunayana's chest beat a rhythm that felt aligned with something greater than memory, purpose reborn. They passed beneath the crumbling archways with reverence, their steps slower now, not from weariness, but from a growing awareness that every movement held weight. Birds called softly from within vine-covered halls. The light of dawn bled into the sky, washing over Ayodhya like forgiveness. At the courtyard banyan, Revya waited, small hands folded, eyes closed in gentle meditation. As they approached, she opened them and smiled. Not with joy, but with knowing. You have gathered the broken threads, she said softly, voice like the rustle of leaves. Now will you weave them? Markasura knelt first, not in submission, but in humility. We are ready to remember, to speak not in commands, but in echoes, truths soft enough to awaken rather than shatter. Revya rose, her gaze resting on Arunayana. And you, warrior of silence? Arunayana's breath was steady. I will no longer flee truth, nor force it. I will carry it gently, like light carried in cupped hands. The child oracle closed her eyes once more, and from her lips came a sound. Not words, but a hum, deep and resonant, like the first vibration at the birth of the cosmos. The earth beneath them quivered slightly, and above, the stars blinked in answer. From the edges of the courtyard, figures emerged. Those who had remained hidden within the city's ruins, the forgotten, the frightened, the faithful. They came slowly, drawn by something unspoken, as if waking from a long dream. Old men leaning on staffs, young women with hollow eyes, children whose laughter had not been heard in seasons. They gathered not out of duty, but because they felt something stirring, the return of Dharma, not as law, but as love. Arunayana stepped forward and lifted his hand. Brothers, sisters, children of the sacred city, he began, his voice a soft wind over still water. We do not come with answers forged in steel, nor doctrines carved in stone. We come with echoes, fragments of truth, yes, but carried gently, so they may reach you as breath, not burden. He gestured to Marcus Sura, who stepped beside him. This one, once fallen, now stands not as a god nor ruler, but as a mirror to remind us that even the lost are never beyond return. The people listened, unmoving, yet something shifted in the air. Hearts leaning forward, Revia raised her small hand and whispered, "Let the sacred silence return." And silence fell, not heavy, not oppressive, but vast. Sacred, the kind of silence that wraps itself around a newborn. The kind of silence in which the stars are born. A silence in which every soul could hear the song within their own heart again. Within that stillness, Vanantya arrived with the morning breeze, her presence barely more than a sigh through the branches. Alara appeared beside the roots of the banyan, her robes trailing threads of golden dawn. Dhaarini, unseen but unmistakable, brushed every heart like the hush of a mother's hand upon a fevered brow. Bargain, in his distant valley, raised his blind face to the sky and smiled. And then, a sound, not a shout, not a cry, but the soft rustle of robes as one by one, the people of Ayodhya bowed, not in obedience, but in remembrance. Dharma had returned, not in banners, not in temples, but in hearts that beat gently, aligned once more with the quiet rhythm of the cosmos. And so the city woke, slowly, as if rising from a sacred sleep, not with thunder, but with breath, not with conquest, but with calm, not with a roar, but with an echo, a soft, eternal echo that would ripple through time, carried in lullabies, in river songs, in dreams. And Arunayana, once exiled, stood not as king, nor sage, but as a keeper of that quiet rhythm, the rhythm of Ayodhya restored, of Dharma remembered, of silence eternal. End.